everyone.
Hi.
I'm Kaneko. So I want to ask you a question. When is the best age to get a driver's license? So Hinako.
18.
Okay. Shin.
Same as her, so 18.
Okay. So Mr. Sugimori.
20.
20. Okay. Thank you. So as you said, people have their own opinions, and there is a difference. So today I'm going to talk about when we should get a driver's license. So with up this screen, this is the outline of my presentation. I'll give a presentation along this. First, I'll talk about why I chose this topic. When I was 18 years old, I got a driver's license after graduating from high school. In Japan, people can get that from 18. I've heard that there are some countries people can get that from 15. Then I wondered when is the best age to get that, and I thought that is too young to get that, so I decided to ask people about whether 15 is too young or not. Let me move on to the next. These are people who answered my question. Jade, Holly, Frank, and Nikita said 15 is good to get a driver's license. Next, Penelope, Luca said 15 is too young to do that, and Valeria said 15 is good, but she also said 15 years old boys or girls need to something to get that. I thought that is interesting, so I talk about it for the last. I want you to listen carefully then. Let me move on to the next. These are questions for interviewees. First, I asked them their information, name, age, female or male, hometown, occupation, and having a driver's license or not. Second, driver's license is necessary for their lives or not. Third, 15 years old is too young to get that or not. Fourth, when is the best age to get that? So let me talk about answers of interviewees. First person is Jade. She is 22 years old and a female. She's from China and she's a university student. She doesn't have a driver's license. I asked her, do you think a driver's license is necessary for your life? She said, sometimes I feel a driver's license is necessary for my life, but I don't really need one. Next, I asked her, do you think 15 is too young to get a driver's license? She said, no, I don't. Driving is not something like you have to be super smart or need to be old enough. 15 years old people can think and make decisions. As long as they learn everything, I don't see any problems. At last, I asked her, when is the best age to get one? She said, depends on the person. Next person is Holly. She is 23 years old and a female. She is from Korea, Jeju. She's a university student. She doesn't have a driver's license. Sorry, I had a mistake. Jeju, Korea. So I asked her the first question like the first person, and she said, yeah, to drive from one place to the other is convenient. Next, I asked her second question, and she said, not so young, I think it's reasonable as long as they get good education about driving and get educated properly. At last, I asked her the last question and she said, "Ages doesn't matter, I think, just needed to be sure that we provide practical education for them." So next person is Frank. He is 22 years old and a male. She is from Accra, Ghana. He is a university student. He doesn't have a driver's license. I asked him the first question and he said, "No, because I might not even drive till die, considering the good transport services available in my city." Next, I asked him second question and he said, "I think it's alright. If you're tested and you pass the test, you are okay." At last, I asked him the last question and he said, "I think 16 is great." So next person is Nikita. He is 21 years old and a male. He is from Angren, Uzbekistan. He is a university student. He has a learner's license. I asked him the first question and he said, "Depends on where you live. If you live in the city with good transport, I don't think you need one. But if you live in a rural area with no good public transport, you definitely need one." Next, I asked him second question and he said, Next, I asked him second and third question. He said, "I don't think that the age should matter if a person is properly tested and has passed all required examinations. Some people might be great drivers at 14. Some might never learn to drive properly." So these people answered 15 years old is not too young to get one. So next two people answered 15 is too young to do. Next person is Penelope. She is 19 years old and a female. She is from Brisbane, Australia. She is a university student and a union worker. She has a learner's license. I asked her the first question and she said, "Yes, because public transport is not very reliable near where I live and I like to visit rural areas which often can only be accessed by car." Next, I asked her second question and she said, "Yes, because at that age, the brain isn't fully developed and perceptions are very different to a more mature brain." At last, I asked her the last question and she said 18, but in rural or regional areas, 16. Next person is Luca. He is 19 years old and a male. He is from Italy. He is a university student. He doesn't have a driver's license. I asked him the first question and he said, "It's necessary. Having a car in your life sometimes makes you comfortable." Next, I asked him second question. He said, 15 years old is too young to have one. You must be adult and take your own responsibility. At last, I asked him the last question and he said, "As I said before, you must be adult and I think 18 is the best." So for the last person is Valeria. She has a different opinion from the others. So it is really interesting. She is 20 years old and a female. She is from Vladivostok, Russia. She is a university student. She has a learner's license. I asked her the first question, and she said, yes, because it enabled you to remote places inaccessible by public transport. Also, it is convenient to have a private vehicle should medical emergency happen in the middle of the night or when you need to transport some heavy luggage. So next, I asked her second question. She said, I think at the age 15, a person is physically and mentally mature enough to drive. Although, as they are still teenagers, there is a possibility that they might make stupid decisions like speeding to show off in front of their friends or driving too far away from the family after an argument. But every teenager is different. At last, I asked her the last question, and she said, I think 15 is okay in general because people's body grow into adult size and they are technically capable of driving, but I think that mental maturity can still vary a lot at this age depending on an individual, and parents should be able to determine whether or not their children are ready to take on the responsibility of driving safely. So I think the best way would be to allow people to drive starting from 15, but until they are legally considered adults, they should obtain a permission to drive from their parents. I don't think driver's licenses should be handed out without parents' permission at this age. As I gave this presentation, there are people who have various opinions. So in conclusion, almost all answers were 15 years old is not too young to get a driver's license. But there was a person who thinks that it is more important to have a skill than the age. Also, there were people who think that if 15 years old people passed the exam, there's no problem and it is related to physical and mental. In Japan, we can't get before being 18 years old. We can't get one before being 18 years old. So some Japanese people may think 15 is too young to get that, but they and we should know that every country has different opinion about getting one. Thank you for listening.